Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show, where it is perpetually 1986 on the cultural side of the equation. I'm saying that because Warren says here, I come here for my 80s new wave fix. This is the place to go in that regard. Desert Mantis says the Democratic Leadership Council led the Democratic Party exit from the working class. Both comments are correct. How are you doing, everyone? It's Friday. I said I was trying not to do a Friday show. What can I say? I work graveyard shift. I was just a lazy fuck yesterday. I was tired. I just needed to sleep. So that's pretty much what it came down to. So, but I said to myself, well, if you do a show on Friday, make sure it's, do it a little bit early. So this is early. So anyway, I ran across an article today about the Democratic Leadership Councils that the what I like to call these damn delusional Democrats trying to revive the Democratic Leadership Council. It technically went away in 2011 because they won everything. They won all their battles. So it kind of morphed itself into the Clinton Foundation. And what I want to do is I want to go and give a little bit of background as to how this entity, this cancer called the Democratic Leadership Council, came into being. And we'll start with I guess we'll start at the beginning with the 1984 election. And I really kind of think it started with the 1984 election. And we know Ronald Reagan won. He just didn't win in 1984. It was a 49 state landslide. I mean, only the state of Minnesota went to Walter Mondale. In the same way that in 1972, George McGovern was only able to win the state of Massachusetts. That was the situation with Richard Nixon. Ronald Reagan won. It was a mandate like you wouldn't believe. And it was basically when conservatism was riding high. And it's been here since then. A lot of people think, well, the age of Reagan is over. No, the age of Reagan lived on. It lived on with George Herbert Walker Bush. It lived on under Bill Clinton, under George W. Bush, under Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and now we're about to embark on the 12th term of the Reagan presidency. Because none of these presidents reverse anything that was meaningful in regard to the Reagan Revolution. When I've always said that the Reagan Revolution in this country has been as detrimental to our society as what went on in the UK under Margaret Thatcher. I'm going to tell you that Ronald Reagan was never needed. Margaret Thatcher in the UK was never needed. Those two people were never needed. And unfortunately, we're in the situation we're in because pretty much of those two people. And there are other actors involved that were, George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Bill Clinton, all these people. And it kind of, in the United States, a lot of culture war, as income inequality became a real thing, and the United States, which is supposed to be a first world country, live under third world conditions. We're not a normal country, a normal Western country, that is. We don't have a national health care system. Our labor movement is weak, almost extinct at this point. Workers are working longer hours, less pay, hardly any vacation time. And the safety net is tattered to hell. And and Americans are angry. I mean, you compare Norway and Sweden, where the people are like the happiest people in the world, and you can see, they're taxed highly, but you can see what they get with their tax dollars: healthcare, labor rights. Houses, that they're sheltered. I mean, they don't, there's no homelessness or very little of it. And these societies, the people are content. It's the good life. I remember our talk show host, right-wing talk show host in Raleigh, was complaining because when he went to Germany in August, people were, quote unquote, on holiday. Like, how can this be that people are going on vacation for 4 or 5 weeks? I wish it was like that here. Unfortunately, it isn't. Ronald Reagan, as I said, I'm kind of getting off subject. Ronald Reagan, 49 state landslide. The Democrats, they ran Walter Mondale, former Vice President Walter Mondale, former U.S. Senator Walter Mondale of Minnesota. And so they ran him. And again, and Walter Mondale, in the primaries, he faced Jesse Jackson and a host of other Democrats. And, the misnomer was that Jesse Jackson was the hard left of the Democratic Party, and that Jesse Jackson, um, I mean, he's somewhat left leaning, but he's not perfect ideologically across the board. But having that said, he might have been the best that there was in the Democratic primary in 1984. But Walter Mondale was also pretty damn good as far as being a labor-centered candidate for president. He is, however, from Minnesota, so consider that situation. So and he shares that tradition with Hubert Humphrey from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, and also shares that tradition with his successors, people like the late Paul Wellstone. So, yeah, he ran in 1984, and unfortunately, people just had bad memories of the 1970s. The gas prices, the inflation, just a lot of shit that went on around the world and at home. And honestly, when it comes to the 1970s and all that was wrong with it, like politically, it was nobody's fault, really, as far as the economy was concerned in many ways, except when neoliberalism was introduced. And Jimmy Carter kind of set the stage for it, and Reagan made it full steam. But there was also a little bit of it going on under Nixon and Ford, too. So they do get a little bit of blame, Nixon, Ford, and Carter. But Reagan put it on steroids. And so situation being that deregulations and not emphasizing on labor rights the way that it needs to be emphasized and that sort of thing, created a situation where we're at today. And it's kind of a damn shame. Walter Mondale was, he was a relatively decent man. And the Democratic Party felt like they were never, ever, ever going to win another election again. So a group of Democrats, people like Richard Gephardt and Sam Nunn and people of that nature, David Frum, I believe that's his name, and various other high-profile Democrats got together. They got together and they decided to form an organization called the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC. And it was a way to win over those people who were Reagan Democrats and bring them back into the Democratic Party. Now, my understanding about the DLC was that it was sort of like what their plans were was like to try to shake off what vestiges of that hippie counterculture that people sort of associated with George McGovern in 1972. Now we need to go and get back to this nonsense meat and potatoes working class message. It's all well and dandy, but in 1988, Michael Dukakis, who was kind of just another Walter Mondale, kind of like if Walter Mondale and Ross Erling from the Twilight Zone was the same person, but with less charisma than Ross Erling. His name was Michael Dukakis, Governor Michael Dukakis of Massachusetts. He was, a technocrat, kind of, a guy that can kind of get things done. He was a moderately well-liked governor in Massachusetts. And he did a fairly good job. But when he got the nomination for president, George Bush Sr. did everything he could to make him sound like he was some unhinged leftist. Now, this was a wake-up call for me because 1988 was my first election. And Michael Dukakis was the first person I ever voted for president. Governor Dukakis of Massachusetts. And all the things that George Herbert Walker Bush was saying that was so bad about Michael Dukakis. And I'm going to tell you some of these things that he said. Michael Dukakis wants to socialize our medical system. I don't know. I thought myself at the age of 19 that was a pretty good idea. Michael Dukakis, he wants to get rid of the death penalty. Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't like the death penalty. Michael Dukakis, he's a card-carrying member of the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, that organization that Pat Robertson at the Republican convention that year called a domestic terrorist organization. Really classy, Pat Robertson. Keep it classy. Yeah, so that's what happened right there. And I did my research and said, what the fuck is this ACLU at the age of 19? I was just like, okay, they support free speech. They support individual rights. They want to keep church state separate. And they really seem to be about making sure everybody's rights are protected. Even the rights of people that I don't like and find disgusting. But they made a case for it where it's common sense to defend voices that you find the most repugnant. And it just kind of made sense to me. And it was kind of like a wake-up call. So Michael Dukakis really, weirdly enough, kind of tiptoed me into the left in a way. I was just a liberal Democrat at the time. But I was just thinking to myself, how the fuck did people ended up voting for George Bush with all this corruption? And where's the fucking prosperity they talk about? Because I never saw that prosperity around. Now, I grew up in a nice middle class environment. My mom and dad were, I did not financially suffer in any way growing up and all that. They paid for my college, in the 90s and all that. So, as I said, there's no complaints as far as my personal financial situation growing up. Having that said, growing up in the northeastern part of the state of North Carolina, I saw a lot of poverty around, a lot of miserable poverty. They weren't exactly like starving per se, but, North Carolina, there was a lot of outhouses where I live, and around this area of the state. It was just people living, kind of in squalor-like conditions around, and jobs. The only jobs you could get were in the service sector. Now that's kind of a thing around now, but even though they were going through deindustrialization in the 80s, there was still some vestiges of industry that can kind of help people get ahead or what have you. But those kind of opportunities were fading away back then. Well, Michael Dukakis lost. In 1989, the Democrats was like, what are we going to do? Well, Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas, decided that he was going to go and become leader of the Democratic Leadership Council. And so Bill and Hillary Clinton, basically, in a nutshell, you know where it goes from here. Bill Clinton ran as a new Democrat in 1992. And let me tell you what he did. This motherfucker. I hate Bill Clinton. I hate Hillary Clinton. I hate them to this day with a passion. I was saying that the other day on the chat line on generational change. Peter read that my remark on the air, and Jen Perlman's like, yes, Willie, I know you do. We talked about this on my show when she's been a guest. But the thing about it is, because, as I say, Debbie Wasserman Schultz being the fucking ugly bitch that she is and evil. You got, I see, that's why I hate her. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I see Bill and Hillary Clinton in her. And I see Bill and Hillary Clinton in a lot of Democrats. And what did Bill and Hillary Clinton do is when taking over the Democratic Leadership Council, as Bill Clinton became president, he ended up having his henchmen take over the Democratic Party, and they fucking Reaganized the goddamn party. It was no longer the party of FDR, New Deal, or LBJ's Great Society. It became the party of Reagan, like a woke Reagan, rainbow capitalism. That's basically what happened to the Democratic Party. And so they were socially liberal on a couple of safe issues. They were pretty much a softer version of what Reagan and Bush did during the previous 12 years prior to his presidency. And you can see what would happen. We had a housing bubble that happened in 2008 because we got rid of Glass-Steagall in 1990. What was it 1998? They got rid of it. A big crucial piece of New Deal legislation, that sort of thing. And Bill Clinton in 1995, I think it was 1995, he made his speech that the era of big government is over. Bill Clinton, when he was running in 1992, I think he was somewhere in Iowa or somewhere, and it was in January or February 92, and I remember this shit. There was an African-American man that was put on death row who was mentally challenged. And Bill Clinton flew right back to Arkansas to oversee that execution, to make sure that the white conservatives out there that they can't throw the Willie Horton thing like they did at Dukakis. Because Bill Clinton was like, look at me. I'll make sure this African-American person got executed. I'll be tough on crime. And remember the 1994 crime bill. Remember that? It was called the Biden crime bill, but Bill Clinton pushed for it. It was a harsh crime bill. It was a harsh crime bill that kind of did in an extreme way what was normal, what would have been normally done otherwise. And I don't believe in doing identity politics, but here's where the identity politics is appropriate. White people do bad crimes, they don't get in trouble. African Americans do the same crimes that the white people do, they go to jail. And that's kind of what happened with that crime bill in 1994. Fuck Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden for that crime bill, because that crime bill extended the federal death penalty to 50 crimes. Fuck them to hell for this. They rot in hell. So this is just an example of the kind of shit that they did with the Democratic Leadership Council. Al Gore was a member of the Democratic Leadership Council, and he chose one of the worst people you can imagine as his running mate, fucking Joe Lieberman, who was even more unhinged about Reaganizing the Democratic Party than Bill and Hillary Clinton. And what happened? We knew what happened down in Florida. And the thing about it is that everybody blamed Ralph Nader. Jimmy Dore said in 2018, or was it 2019? It was 2018 when George W. Bush was rehabilitated by the Democrats, that they hated Ralph Nader because he gave us George W. Bush. Now that the liberals love George W. Bush, they hate Ralph Nader. Not only that, and I'm going to add to that, not only that, they hate Ralph Nader, they hate Bernie Sanders, they hate Jill Stein, no matter what we may think of these people. The corporate Democrats, people like the Bill and Hillary Clintons out there, they hate the actual left more than they do the right. And I die on that hill. So I ran across this article And this is what we're going to talk about right now. Ran across this article from the Hill, and I'll share it with you. A revived Democratic Leadership Council cannot save the Democratic Party, by Nancy Jacobson and Holly Page, opinion contributors, February 13, 2025. What has been clear to some for years is finally common knowledge. The Democratic Party is lost in the wilderness. It is the most unpopular it has been since Quinnipiac began asking the questions in 2008. The election saw it lose support among every voter group except white college-educated voters. Far from learning its lessons, the recent DNC was a parade of progressive cliches, from land of acknowledgement to hand-wringing over pronouns. Party leaders doubled down on the very parties voters had just rejected. Now, self-claimed Democratic centrists claim to have a solution. Simply revive the Democratic Leadership Council, a moderate movement that elevated Bill Clinton and rescued the Democrats from obscurity in the 1990s. Stop. In 1992, this is me saying this, in 1992, Bill Clinton would have lost that election had it not been for H. Ross Perot. H. Ross Perot took votes away from George Herbert Walker Bush. In 1996, rinse, repeat. H. Ross Perot took votes away from Bob Dole. That's how Bill Clinton was able to win in 1992 and get reelected in 1996. It wasn't because we're conservative Democrats now, like these fucking pieces of shit people I used to work with in the college Democrats when I was in college, telling me that we're no longer the party of FDR's New Deals. We're New Democrats now. And I stormed out of that meeting saying, y'all know what you can do with the fucking New Democrats. Fuck off. Let me continue. Both of us worked at the DLC for more than a decade at founder Al Fromm's side, and take it from us, reviving the DLC is a pipe dream. There's no need to revive it. It's already here. I mean, it still functions. To revive the Democratic Leadership Council, what do you want to do? Make the party more right-wing? Because the Democratic Party, the DLC could discontinue in 2012 because their work was done. They already fucked Bernie twice. And, Marianne Williamson, whatever we may think of her, and Dean Phillips, whatever we may think of him, they made damn sure nobody was going to go and upset the apple cart as far as Joe Biden was concerned. And Kamala Harris, she went, in the words of Breonna Joy Gray, bumping fists with Dick and Liz Cheney, and she didn't want any help from Bernie Sanders. Let me continue. For this is not the 1990s. When the DLC was formed, the far left was fringe. What is the far left? What is the far left? Wanting a Medicare for all? Wanting to have a union living wage job? Things that normal countries do. Normal Western countries, mind you. It had to be contended with, sure, but nobody thought Jesse Jackson controlled the ideology of the party. Well, it would be a slightly better party if he did. But anyway, not so today. In the last decade, radical progressives took over the party citadel, while the very Democratic elites now calling for change welcomed them and bargaining that they would bring power, popularity, and money. For a while, it seemed to work. Only now do these establishment players want to do over. The counter coup against the progressives is destined to fail before it begins. Two major takeaways from the DLC reveal why. One, the DLC emerged from outside the establishment. Bullshit. From those with the courage. Fuck y'all. Courage to take the significant risks and the credibility to speak truth to power. No one in the Democratic establishment has that courage or credibility today. If they did, they would have stood up to the progressives back when they had power. What are y'all talking about? You made damn sure that the Bernie Sanders wing were kept in the margins where they're at. Y'all did so good. You establishment Democrats have done so good doing that. You've actually cut Bernie and AOC into being submissive little, minions for you guys. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. An ideal movement would have been the debate over Build Back Better in 2021. These same supposedly centrist Democrat groups attack members of their own party who question the far left agenda around it, like Senator Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, and the group of 9 House Democrats like Josh Gottheimer. Those brave leaders built the bipartisan infrastructure bill without any support from their party, and eventually it became clear that their solution was the only way forward. Now the Democratic establishment takes credit for all their work. No, fuck those people. Fuck those people. Fuck Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. They left your goddamn party while AOC and Bernie Sanders remain loyal. Fuck y'all. Good Lord. No. We needed Build Back Better. We needed Build Back Better. We needed those unions. We needed the labor law reforms and Protect the Right to Organize Act. We needed the real serious prescription drug reform and tuition-free community college and all that. Well, what do? Y'all let the right go around saying, oh, that is woke. It was the most class reductionist piece of legislation in decades, and it would have been the most aggressive form of legislation to solve income inequality. But I guess that is woke to these fucking morons. My goodness. Today, as then, the common sense majority it's not the property of the left or the right. The new politics, oh God, the new politics will emerge by combining together Republicans and Democrats and independents who still care about the sensible governance and problem solving. Are you kidding me? Republicans are flirting with fascism. They do not want to work with even the corporate Democrats at all. They're actually trying to destroy democracy right now, and you're blaming the left? You punch left when you should be punching at the fucking MAGA folks who are trying to destroy the administrative state and replace it with these henchmen, these yes men for MAGA. Oh, no. You're going to go punch left. This contrast of the Democrats calling for a new DLC who are solely concerned with repairing their own party. There's a cynical effort. Real courage is to forget the party. Let's build a new movement. Remember, the DLC held its own convention separate from the DNC. Democrats only claimed that it owned it when it was clear that it was winning, and it should have never won. That people should have revolted against the DLC when that cancer started festering in the party. Our organization, No Labels, oh God, No Labels, is built around the very goal of innovating and create a new politics. We support the leaders in both parties who are bucking the leadership to work together in the middle. Our focus is not to build a third party, but rather a third force. No, what we need is a fucking third party. We need a third party of the left. The left is what we need. We need a left-wing third party because we're not welcome in the Democratic Party because of morons like these people. We also are marshaling the citizens to support for such politics, which is enduring success of our unity ticket effort, an effort to attack the Democratic establishment, even though the election proved our thesis through. What are you talking about? the Democratic Party campaign on the right, as they normally do. So much so that it made it necessary for people like myself to go and vote Green Party for Jill Stein. An old saying comes to mind: do not seek to follow the footsteps of the wise, seek what they sought. What they sought. The DLC was built 4 decades ago. It was and for a different era. There is no repeating it now, no going back, especially now under the leadership of the very elites who let the cancer of progressivism consume the party. Oh, fuck you. You know, what would have been progressivism 60 years ago? Desegregating public schools would have been progressive. Would have been progressive to allow women to vote back in the 1920s. I mean, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Carry the Democratic Party back to the 1800s? That's where the Republicans are. Our experience at the DLC tells us that the way forward is to create entirely new politics that's representative of the times. One that unites common sense Democrats, Republicans, and independents into a new movement for America. Nancy Jacobson is the founder and CEO of No Labels. Holly Page is the co-founder of No Labels. And yeah. Fuck you both. Fuck y'all. So, good gracious. Such morons. I'm sorry. It just makes me mad when that these people are so confident when they're so wrong, and they're so confident about how wrong they are. And people, they're like barking like seals, and like, oh, you're correct. Oh. I know there are a bunch of morons out there doing that. And they're going to listen to that advice instead of doing what needs to be done. You know, that's what's going to happen. So, I remember this from years ago, and I'm going to show y'all this meme here. That was actually more like a comic. I think it was like a strip. Anyway, leftist versus liberal. So there's a Bernie Sanders supporter on the left with a Hillary Clinton supporter here, because this is from 2016, and the Bernie Sanders supporter says Democrats will lose unless they move left. She says, "Quiet, moron. Polls show Bernie's beating Trump, Hillary's losing," says the Bernie supporter. The Hillary supporter says, "Go away. We don't need you." Hillary needs the left to win. She should stop courting to Republicans, said the Bernie supporter. And this Karen, who's a Hillary supporter, says, "Wrong." And then she's like, "Your fault. Trump won because you guys didn't vote." And this is how I see the Democratic Party, the way that they treat the left. They say to people like us, "We don't like you. We don't want you. We don't need you. But you better support us anyway. And if you don't support us and we lose, we're going to blame you." That's basically what these motherfuckers do. And, fuck them. They're the enemy. They're as much of the enemy as your Marjorie Taylor Greenes out there and your Laura Loomers. I want y'all to realize that. Your Nancy Pelosi's out there, your Debbie Wasserman Schultz are as much your enemy as Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer. I want that to be burnt inside your head. And for the Young Turks to kind of go on that kick too. They're kind of doing what that article suggested, trying to move toward the center by sitting there licking the asshole of MAGA. They can fuck off. So let's see here. Let me go forward here. Kashama Sawant, great quote. Let me find it here. Kashama Sawant. "If you're a progressive, the road for your movement inside the Democratic Party leads to a graveyard." She is the person we need to listen to, because she's doing this shit outside of electoral politics. And that's what we need to listen to. We're discussing $15 hour minimum wage That conversation got started because of Kashama won. And that, now it needs to be $25 an hour, and we are still at $7.25. Are we a glutton for punishment, America? We need to, we need to go and we need a general strike. As our friend Warren says, we gotta shut it down. And we're not going to get anywhere until we shut it down. So, the thing about it is, this Trump victory didn't have to take place. It really didn't have to take place. But I will conclude with my tweet that I share this morning on Twitter. I actually did it on Facebook, but I made it sound better on Twitter. We're the Democratic Party. When push comes to shove, and I said, when push comes to shove, I'm sorry, I'm a little excited. We're the Democratic Party. When push comes to shove, we always cave in to the Republicans. You can always depend on the Democrats to punch left and be face fucked by the GOP. That's where we're at right now. That is where we're at. I almost wish that they would go and do that bold move to go and try to bring back the Democratic Leadership Council. Because I would love to have a demonstration. Now, I mean, they got a right to organize and all that. I'm not saying that they don't. But as a way to let people know what we think of them, to protest outside. Let them know that there are spackles of shit in the toilet that provides more information and do a better service for humanity than the Democratic fucking Leadership Council. Yes, I'm just a little bit perturbed by this whole thing. So let me talk to everybody here on the chat line as I calm down. Let's see. Willie's long hair, giving off Isaac Asimov vibe. Yeah, I just got out of the shower a little while ago, so there's that. Chuck, Intergalactic UFO Show. How are you doing today? Question: Do you still do the Campbell soup cans art prints? I want to order one for my ship. No, I'm not Andy Warhol. Although, when I was in college, I was an art major for 20 minutes, a declared art major. And Andy Warhol was one of my favorite artists when I was growing up. Still one of my favorites. So, Cisco says the whole family are trash. Yeah. And Chuck Intergalactic UFO says third wave happened in the UK. What Tony Blair did. He did very similar things to what Bill Clinton did. In fact, he did that in 1994 when John Smith died. I think that was his name. The guy that succeeded Neil Kinnock. He died in 1994. Tony Blair took over and got rid of Clause 4 from the Labor Party Constitution, the explicit socialist language that triggered a lot of folks. And Jeremy Corbyn came in and saved the party in a lot of ways for a while, but they backstabbed him, and he's now an independent socialist MP in the Islington North constituency. I know my British politics pretty well. Earl, how are you doing today? They called the housing bubble a bubble for 5 years, and then they all said that they had no idea there was a bubble. The housing prices didn't go down. I noticed that when it happened. It's like, okay, the housing prices dropped. I didn't see any indicator of it. So, Al Gore is my favorite internet inventor. I like him more than Dr. Shiva. I actually met Al Gore in 1992 at Ficklin Stadium at ECU. I thought it was a big deal at the time. Gosh, wasn't I stupid back then? Bill Hillary Clinton is now officially the single word. I have hashtagged them together like that a couple of times. I kind of think Willie, what gives off a Billy Idol vibe, Uncle Warren. Um, um, like Billy Idol, like his old band Generation X, and like his early solo stuff. So, Desert Manta says Willie is multifaceted. H. Ross Perot saved the Clintons' ass twice. They sure did. I knew it at the time too. Stop. You're blowing my mind. Democratic Party. Seriously, I can't wait until the term woke dies. I don't like the term woke, but woke is the new word. I mean, what was it around previously? SJW was a clunky term. Social justice warriors. And political correctness, PC. They're always trying to find some new word and trying to package it in a way, that try to turn people off from the left message. So everything is woke to these people. Yeah, I do get irritated when, and that term will die. We need to make fun of the term, the way that the right wing weaponize it. Is that Willie Bragg or Alex Jones on my laptop? Yeah, I had an Alex Jones moment, or an Alex Jones of the left. Wasn't trying to be, but let's see. All right. I'm going to be logging off here in a second. Let's see. A Green Party member I follow on Twitter was worked within the Democratic Party until they told him he can leave if he wants universal health care and other leftist ideas. So he left. That's who they are. Yeah. It was that way when I was in the Democratic Party very early on. They just, when I was in the College Democrats, I had some ideas that they dismissed because it was outdated to them. They didn't want to be perceived as radical hard leftists. A Green Party member, let's see. Oh yeah, I think I read that already. Oh, okay, I got you. Blue MAGA, and Paige Dem Shields are all over Twitter and Blue Sky. Yep. I'm still on Twitter. I'm going to stay on Twitter. And I'm going to be on Blue Sky. I'm staying on Blue Sky. I didn't do Red Note yet because I'm stretching myself a little bit too much. So I can't be on all the platforms. So that's where I'm at right now. I know that woman. She's a former chair of the county Democratic Party. Oh, so somebody y'all know in California. Blame voters and Russia. The Russian plan was cooked up on election night. Yeah, I never believed in Russiagate. I have from day one. It just didn't sit well with me. And one reason back then was to reject Russiagate was they just, not only because Trump was actually innocent of Russian collusion. He's guilty of a bunch of other things, but he was not guilty of that. They blame Bernie and Jill Stein and Tulsi Gabbard and the left. They actually went after the left. So, and you weaponize McCarthyism like that using a right-wing tactic, it will bite you in the ass at the end. So anyway, I want to make sure I got everybody. Commissary Kate, how are you doing today? Let's see. Well, that's okay. And we're glad you're here, Kate. We're glad you're here. And so anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say about it. So the Democratic Leadership Council talking about bringing it back, or at least using some of the tactics that was used in the 1990s to break the back of the left. They're going to come after us some more. If they can't get you inside the Democratic Party, they're going to get you with the ballots, because look what happened in 2022 in North Carolina. I live in North Carolina. The Green Party was trying to get back their ballot access. And Matthew Ho, who I've interviewed here, by the way, he was the Green Party candidate for U.S. Senate. And the Green Party they had their ballot access denied. They had to go and do legal measures to get back on the ballot. They were able to. So that's the situation we're in. So anyway, right now I will say this. Yes. And I met Matthew Ho at the Assange rally in DC back in 22. Comrade Misty was there, and other Chris Hedges, people like that were there. Jill Stein, John Kirikou. So met these folks. And I haven't been to a protest in years prior to that. So when I came to that protest in DC, I said, Willie, welcome home. So anyway, what was I going to say here? Yeah. I'm still trying to work on how I'm going to schedule the Willie Bragg show as far as the live streaming is concerned. It may be possibly 7:00 or maybe 6:00. It very well may be 7:00 this coming Monday. And maybe for the rest of the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then it may be earlier the week after next. So I'm experimenting with the times, but I'm trying to do it in a way where it doesn't interfere with my work, and I still can get my beauty sleep and have enough time to prep up and all. So there is that. I guess I'll conclude by saying thank you all for putting up with me. And we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, which I'm excited about. And so, just tell your friends about this channel, and help. When you're helping my channel, it's not all about me, but when you're helping my channel, you're doing your part to help independent media. And so same thing, if you help Warren's channel, same thing. Or any other channels out there in this space, because corporate media and is out there with their narratives, and their narratives is none of it's any good. And so we need a narrative that's focus on working class people, focus on civil liberties, free speech, and providing medical care for people, and being against war. That's what we got to do. So that's what we got to do. So anyway, if you like what you heard, please press like. It helps with algorithms. Comment. Always comment if you can. And share this channel, and share it. Just share and subscribe. Any content I have, you're welcome to share it with everyone. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform each and every one of you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. And to remember to reject corporate media, and and basically just subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show on all my platforms, and let's go ahead and do what we can. Free and pardon Ed Snowden. free Palestine, free health care for all, for our self-preservation, free speech absolutism must be protected. And until next time, fuck Bill and Hillary Clinton. Y'all have a great night.